Welcome to the SARE Ladies Podcast, the sister brand of Subtle Asian Real Estate, where our mission is to get more people that look like us participating in the real estate industry. We invite experts to not just talk about real estate, but also about our unique identity as Asian women and the cultural values that shape who we are as investors. I'm Anita Wong.
And I'm Tiffany Lee. We're both real estate agents and investors based in the Bay Area and New York City. Whether you're a seasoned real estate pro or just starting out, there's something for everyone here. So pour yourself a glass of wine or boba tea and join us as we celebrate the achievements and unleash the untapped potential of AAPI women in the real estate industry.
Welcome to the SARE Ladies Podcast.
Now let's get on with the show.
The following is an important legal disclosure regarding the content of our podcast. The content provided in all episodes of the SARE Ladies Podcast, including discussions, opinions, interviews, and any other type of content, is intended solely for entertainment purposes. It should not be considered professional, financial, legal, or any other type of advice. The hosts, guests, and producers of the SARE Ladies Podcast are limited professional advisors. The content provided should not be relied upon for making any personal, financial, or business decisions. We strongly encourage our listeners to seek advice from qualified professionals before making any decisions based on the content of this podcast. The creators, hosts, and producers of the SARE Ladies Podcast shall not be liable for any errors or omissions in the content provided, nor for any actions taken by any listener based on the information provided in the podcast. Any reliance you place on such information is therefore strictly at your own risk. While we may discuss a range of topics including investments and financial strategies, such discussions are for illustrative and entertainment purposes only. The SARE Ladies Podcast does not endorse or recommend any specific investments or financial products. We strongly advise our listeners to consult with a qualified professional for advice tailored to their personal circumstances before making any investment or financial decisions. By listening to the SARE Ladies Podcast, you acknowledge and agree to this disclaimer and understand that the content provided is not intended to replace professional advice.
Now on to the show. For far too long, the SARE Ladies, Tiffany Lee and Anita Wong, and the It Depends webinar poster boys, Tony Hoong and Davis Yu, were SARE's little millennial media darlings and fixtures on the SARECon circuit and online. So I would say if SARE had a Mickey Mouse club of like Disney child stars, the four of us sitting here on this podcast today are it. And you know, those child stars, they had to be so perfect all the time and so polite. But today, on today's episode, I'm excited because the gloves are coming off. These child stars are going full Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, and we're letting it all out, but in a very constructive and loving way, right? I feel like, you know, for a long time we've just been kind of like gently giving advice, but I will say, and I will die on this hill, my biggest pet peeve that I see a lot of times on any type of internet forum is sometimes the most least qualified voices to lend opinions are also the loudest. And I am one who hates seeing like bad advice get disseminated and upvoted just for, you know, novelty reasons when the professionals are just sitting back and also kind of getting hate for being like, you know, not imaginative or whatnot, right? Like, you know, it's like clickbait. Like bad advice is basically clickbait. And the higher the clickbait, the more popular it gets. And that's kind of, I just want to try to have a place where we can kind of dispel all of that. So, you know, in that vein, you know, we say this playfully, but hey, maybe today we're going to get canceled, but these are some frustrations that we have seen in our professional career that I think we can, you know, all look at 2024 as a opportunity to, you know, have a resolution to, you know, work together more seamlessly, have more honest conversations and not just be so, you know, lovey-dovey. This is a tough love episode. So, and that's kind of it. So this is that's my intro for this episode. And you know, we need not say any more than that. So let's jump into it, shall we? And we'll keep this brief, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So this first question I want to ask both Tony and Davis. Tony, what's the most common and annoying tax or legal issue that you come across frequently in your day-to-day work?
Well, I don't come across a lot of legal ones. I'll diverge those to Davis. Annoying, you said?
Yeah, annoying or pet peeve, like something that you never even want to hear about again. Like you've seen it so many times and you've seen people do this wrong so many times that you just want to get it out there and be like, hey, don't do this anymore. Stop it.
Oh yeah. I think, man, I'd probably just say probably your books. You know, just bookkeeping. It's just a monster. It's manual. No one likes it. Like it sounded like a broken record again. Just no one does it. And I think that's the hard part. Like I get it. It's just annoying to do pull down statements, answer questions of why did you spend so much money on XYZ? And you kind of have to just face the music I'm like, bro, stop spending so much when I have this issue. So I think, finances is a hard topic for a lot of people, and, having a come to, come to Jesus moment. I don't know. I'm not a faith person, but come to real reality thing. Like, oh, all right, you spend this much money. Okay, why do you spend this much money? Do you need to spend this much money? And can you track why you spend so much money? So I think just having books done, just front for it. It's not a big deal. It's cost of doing business at the end of the day. So I think the only reason why it's a pet peeve, because I'm like, we prepare taxes based off the information furnished to us. So if I don't got, if I have garbage in, I'm going to produce garbage out. And, which leads to the second one of, can you please not shoot the messenger? Like me telling you have a X amount dollar tax bill is not my fault. So I mean, like, dude, you made that much money. It's your money that you have to pay taxes on. So, please don't shoot the messenger. But it's probably why I just joke about everything and just try to make it as painless as possible. But shit sucks still at the end of the day.
You joke to cope. I have a drink right now while I record this podcast because real estate, I drink a lot to, just get through the day with my job and my clients.
Have you ever been tempted to hire a bookkeeper for someone else? Just be like, you need one.
Oh, there's this, I don't have the budget for it yet, but I thought about doing it where, well, we probably just pass it on all the clients, but it was to hire like a full-time, not like contract-based bookkeeper, and then just be like, bro, you fix all the books of all the clients. But then there's such a big mess of books, or so like people, I'm like, I don't know if it's realistic. You need like a gang. So maybe I'd figure out a VA gang. I don't know. But yeah, it'd be nice to like include that. I'd be like, there's some other CPAs that are way, I don't know, not as nice as me, I guess, where they won't do your work if they don't control your books, actually. So it's like you're paying for bookkeeping and you're paying for tax. Otherwise, you can go pound sand. So other like professionals I met in my field too.
Do you think that's something that you would ever want to implement if your frustration with sloppy bookkeeping compounds on itself year over year?
Nah, Asians. I'm not gonna convince an Asian person like, hey, you have to pay for bookkeeping. They're like, oh, I'll do this shit myself. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, you just make sure it's timely. So
we were just talking about how Asian people are so used to paying people under the table, or like it's a thing, right? It's a cultural thing, and like, how do you chase those? I mean, after, let's just say that's how you've learned how to bookkeep your entire life, or even if you're in the restaurant business, like, you can't even function as a restaurant, as an Asian restaurant, without paying someone basically cash. So
I think it's just that trait in industry, but it is, I think, cost of doing business, right? It comes with the stress. Otherwise, everyone and their mom, no one wants to be a CPA. I'm like, oh, everyone and their mom be a CPA, but yeah, actually, there's more people leaving the industry than getting certified right now. So yeah, CPAs are becoming extinct.
You have any insight on what they're leaving to do? Like, what would be the trajectory for a jaded CPA? What's after that?
I think a lot of them just go back to like different career changes, industry changes. So they'll get out of public accounting and just go into like a private company. And then like student wise, there's like, I don't think anyone's studying accounting. I was at my sister's panel event thing for some business group at Berkeley, asked if anyone was studying accounting. It was like a room of like probably like 60 people. It was like 2 people. I was like, damn, this major's dead. Like, no one wants to do it. It makes sense though. Like, why do 150 credits, right? Because you can't get it with a 4-year degree. You need like pretty much a 5-year degree, be in debt a ton, go slave for like 2 years to work for someone else to get your license signed, all to make 60 grand a year, working 80 hours a week. Like, versus like, I got like people, like clients these days, they're like 18 years old and they're like slanging like 150. I'm like, damn. I'm like, it's a new era now.
Yeah.
It's completely different now. You don't need these old school type of like businesses to I'd say make a living these days.
What about you, Tony? What's an annoying legal issue a common annoying legal issue that you come across with your clients? Maybe you see it on the intake. Maybe you see it as you go through the motions with them. What grinds your gears?
Oh, I don't deal with legal on my side.
Oh, I'm asking Davis. This is a Davis question.
Yeah. Oh, I thought Tony was going to answer this for me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is all Davis.
No, it's tax and legal. So legal, Davis, that's your arena. What do you never want to deal with again for 2024?
Well, before I start, I'm not your attorney, so this is just for entertainment purposes. That's a tough question because I feel like for my profession, people come asking questions that others might think are not like dumb questions. But that's kind of the reason why I'm here, right? Is because I'm here to answer these questions because people don't know what they don't know. However, I guess the most irritating things are just more of like, what if questions, right? And it's like, hey, or they just don't give me enough facts, right? And they'll say, will I get sued? And it's like, I don't know. Like, it depends, right? Or when they're just like, do I need this? After I tell them like, yes, you need it. I guess questions that they can that I've already answered. So it's tough to say like there's one thing, but like, or when they ask like, why is the law like that? You're not a good attorney if you can't change the law. And it's like, okay, like, cause there's a lot of things that are outside of our control. People watch TV and those movies and stuff and think like, if you're a great attorney, like you can change the law. But I'm sure a lot of attorneys understand too, like there's a lot of clients that think like because we pay a lot of money for legal, like they should be able to like bend the rules and stuff. I mean, sometimes you can, but most of the times you can't. But or when they just ask rhetorical questions, after I've answered it 100 times. Yeah. Or when they ask me tax questions. Yeah.
I love how Davis started this with like, I don't know how to answer this question, and then rattles out like 10 different things. He's like, actually, and then like you get him on a roll. He's like, actually, and also this is annoying, and this is annoying, and this is annoying.
Not annoying, just more so like, I guess if I had to pinpoint some things, it's just like, and then or people that just question you after like, they do their research on Google and then they call you and pay for your services, and then they ask you like, oh, but Google said this. So it's like, okay, then go Google it again. Like, why are we here, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
James Ho yesterday in our health and wealth panel says Google is his greatest enemy.
I think actually Google's not bad. It's just there's just so much information that like the right answer is there. You just have to seep through like a million answers, and that's kind of the problem. I think is people just do a quick Google search and then it's like they think that's the law or that's the route to take. A lot of attorneys use Google, so.
I think we're just to add some additional context to that, the reason why Google sucked is because when you insert a Google query, you can put in all these keywords to fit your specific situation to kind of like justify the idea that you already want to get that like positive validation to. So they already have this crappy idea in their brain. So they're searching for the article that validates that crappy idea. And then the Google search gives them that. And I think that's what James's beef with Google was. He's like, yeah, that's legit.
You go to page 7 of the Google search and you're like, oh, finally someone that agrees with me. So it's right.
Yeah.
Just skip the first 6 pages of,
And I see that all the time on the forum that we belong to.
What about you guys? What about you guys as real estate professionals? I mean, what's like the worst?
Z-estimates.
When people say like, oh, my Z-estimate is this much. Really?
Literally, someone will just be like, but Zillow said this is the price. Well, then go back to Zillow.
Zillow's like LegalZoom, right? Zillow's like LegalZoom for real estate professionals.
Yes, and then they'll be like, well, they have an algorithm and they're taking in a lot of information. Aren't you doing the same thing? I'm like, okay. Well, I mean, that might be the case, but are you looking at everything? I mean, like, then why even call me if you were going to put this ridiculous price down? And
it's like, I don't care what the comps are. Zillow says my house is worth like 1 million over what it actually is worth, especially during the pandemic. I feel like there's a lot of inflated numbers, right? And then and then I think for me, I wanted to ask you guys, like, how often are you guys hit with the, hey, like, can you lower the commission? I know my aunt.
All the time.
Gonna do it for like this percentage or kickback, wink, wink, things like that.
It is a Asian thing. It's sort of an expectation now, but I've actually, lost a couple of clients because I've pushed back because they were asking for pretty low commissions, or it's not functional as, real living human beings. And a lot of that has to do with like the the Redfin stuff, the Redfin commission. Even we were just talking about the whole NAR thing about reducing. I mean, the whole hope of that people wanted to have that law go through, whatever, right? Because they wanted to reduce commission price and make it more accessible for people to purchase, right? But I'm like, you're gonna, like, as with anything, you're gonna, what you put your money for is what you're gonna get. How much you pay is what you're gonna get. So, at least on our end, I'm not sure about you, Tiff, but.
And people don't forget that agents don't get paid until the deal is done either. Yeah. So it's kind of
months of work.
It's not like we're asking you to pay up front, like whatever once we do a good job, that's when we get paid. So it's kind of like very tilting, I would say, when I have those commission. But in my years of doing this, I've just learned that if it gets too low, I walk away from it. And I even say to them, like, hey, if I'm willing to go down on my commission, what makes you think that I'm going to negotiate well for you if I'm willing to like cut what I'm owed, right? Like that, then it's like, I'm just going to walk. So yeah, I think it's just an adjustment, and it's you kind of have to stick to your guns too on your own and trusting your skill set as a professional and what you bring to the table. Because what's that saying goes, it's like the second that you're not willing to walk away from a deal, the negotiation's over. There's no negotiation. If you're not willing to walk away, there's no negotiation. Someone's got somebody else by the balls. So I'm always willing to walk.
I think they only think
sorry,
about,
not sorry.
Yeah. They just think about the percentage, right? They don't think about like your splits with your broker, all this stuff too, and the seller or the buyer's agent. And it's always just like, oh, like you're taking home 3 to 5% of the purchase price. They don't. I guess it's just one of those things where, but you know how Asians are, they always like to, I feel like even if you have a lot of money, it's like, you always want to one up your circle. Like, oh, but like I got my agent to take, 2% instead of 3% or something. I think everyone gets a joy out of like feeling like they one up someone,
Yeah, or you're getting the cheapest thing with the biggest bang for your buck, right? Yeah, or like getting a lot of clients, they love getting like free gifts all the time, or like, free, I don't know, like free sweater with your like name on, I don't know, but like whatever. So
that's why we write off the gifts as cost of doing business. Keep your commission, buy the gift, write it off. There you go. Right? Is that allowed, Tony? Closing gifts.
This one, yeah. This one's legit.
Yeah, that's legit.
It's a legit thing. That's legit. Like, I gotta edit the last podcast episode, but this one's legit.
Oh, yeah, what if you pay for someone else's parking ticket as their client gift?
What's happening behind the scenes here? Yeah.
Is there a limit? Because I know some of these gifts, they're pretty nice.
No, I don't see why there would be a limit. No.
What's the nicest gift you've ever seen, Davis?
I mean, I've had somebody buy somebody a car, so.
Mm-hmm. But damn, I need some.
I don't know how they figure it out, like how to figure out who's getting the deduction or whatnot. Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, because typically for our end, it has to be like ordinary, right? Like, and related to your business. But I don't know about like if purchasing cars for like things that are like potentially like 6 figures is considered, something that's acceptable.
I've seen in our transactions, some people sell their cars along with their houses, or they sell a bunch of stuff along with their houses as a complete package. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously if you are their broker, you can also pay for a portion of like that. I mean, it's pretty common for brokers to be paying for inspections, to paying for whatever, just to get the deal done. So I'm sure he was just like, you get this car with it, but this $15 million house, like, or whatever, like, it's your, so in order to get the deal done, right? So I'm actually not too shocked by that.
How do you guys push back on people who balk about your fees? Do you even take them on, or do you sit them down and explain what your value add is?
Tony, do you want to go first, or Tony usually just does it for free if they ask? So.
Oh no,
Dang.
Davis is like just throwing Tony's
I'm kidding. I thought this episode was for jokes.
Not when you deliver it so deadpan, Davis. It's like
I think I put a disclaimer out, so I'm fine.
The disclaimer.
So yeah.
Oh well, I guess I'll just go. I mean, I think I always just, like similar to what we talked about. I think initially, if you don't have, it's tough because if you don't have work and you have a team, you need the business. So sometimes you make some accommodations, but at the end of the day, if you have enough work and you know your worth, like I just pretty much tell them like, I have a network now and like other attorneys I can refer people to that are like, I guess more like less costly, where I tell them, hey, like, unfortunately, this is what we have to price things at in order for us to provide our service. If you're looking for more of the cheaper end, like there's referrals I can make. I typically don't do like adjusted rates unless it's like something where they're purchasing like packages, right? And it's things that we're going to repeat sometimes. Yeah. And I just tell them like, if you're gonna go the cheaper end, then just do it. It is what it is. Unfortunately, sometimes people have limited budgets, right? And there's nothing against that, I think. But I think it's one of those situations where you get what you pay for. Sometimes you don't, but most of the time you get what you pay for. And I'm just fortunate, I guess, to be in a position where, I don't necessarily have to take like everything that, But I do give some adjusted rates for like SARE members and followers and listeners of SARE Ladies podcast.
That's news to me. Is this a new promotion that we're rolling out? I'm just learning about it right now.
Once again, all full of jokes. So I'm just.
This is another joke. This is not a real promotion for Davis.
But yeah, that's what I do. I just try to stay firm, and I do provide resources for potential clients if they can't afford my services.
Davis, you can't afford me. What about you, Tony? How do you push back on that? Or do you? According to Davis, you don't.
But apparently not. I just get bullied into just providing services for free. So this past year has been, I did like a very big like mentorship, and this past year has changed a lot for our intake process. So I think we've eliminated a lot of price shoppers just on our initial intake. So our intake form literally states like the minimum is like $6,000 to work with us. So I think that's eliminated most price shoppers. So then when we do talk to people, like through the mentorship, I learned like, oh, there's qualified leads and there's unqualified leads. Like before I was like, oh, leads are leads. And then they're like, nah, dude, like big ass difference. I'm like, oh, and then kind of worked with them to get that down. And then now, I think we've been pretty lucky so far in terms of like a lot of price folks. There's some that are still price sensitive. That's fine. We might just throw in a bonus, just to like, hey, long-term relationship wise, we'll add in a bonus. But generally, we don't discount as I don't think we discount much anymore. Referrals, we always toss a discount towards each referral, just because we see that as like a pretty valid relationship for both parties. So we do that. But other than
I know you also do like a strategy versus doing the actual work breakdown, right, Tony?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have our like to help serve more of the crowd. It's like we have our full like tax like advisory service, and then there's like, if we can't help you, then we spun up like a private paid community, and that's like a lot more affordable. But we don't like do the question. It's like we just like, all right, here group wise. It's like group coaching for like fitness, but just like group tax advice off weekly office hours.
Got it. And then we touched on Zillow earlier before, but how do you guys feel about the DIYers who use TurboTax and LegalZoom and then come reaching out to you? And are they hurting themselves? Are there situations where this actually makes better sense for them because of the cost of it? What's your take there? Broad strokes.
Well, on the LegalZoom end, I always just say when you're bootstrapping, starting up something and there's not much to lose, like for instance, you don't have personal assets, using LegalZoom or a third party is better than not doing it or just doing it yourself. However, once you kind of decide to transition over and it becomes a larger business, you definitely need to hire an attorney or a legal professional to kind of go back and fix the operating agreement and things to make sure that you can do as much as you can before you're subject to liability. The unfortunate part is, I always say, if you have the funds, if you're thinking about starting up a business, you should allocate a legal budget for that to make sure you're set up properly. But I know like sometimes when you are bootstrapping, it's tough. So that's always been a tough question for me. The downfall is, I don't know how these like LegalZooms, how they operate fully, but they use generic templates most of the times. And they send it to you, but I've had multiple instances where clients like gave me an operating agreement from LegalZoom from like 4 or 5 years ago that's not even signed, right? So they don't necessarily guide you through the process, or they probably do inform you need to sign it, but they don't do it, right? And it's so generic that if it doesn't apply to your business or yourself, it's almost as if you don't have it. And then the state's just filler operating agreement's going to kick in anyways. So you might as well talk to a professional. At the very least, talk to your circle or someone that has done the business that you're trying to engage in, to see if they might be willing to kind of give you a copy of what their attorney or whatever operating agreement they have. So I'm always I'm always against it, but it's definitely better than not doing it. That's a tough question for me, but I've had so many people who were, I guess, not cheap, but didn't have the funds to, throw in like $3,000-4,000 to start up an LLC and get it all properly drafted, and then end up like being involved in a potential like suit or disagreement with their partners, and then spend like $50,000 in legal costs. So it's like,
yeah,
it's one of those like proactive versus reactive things, but
Yep. Proactive versus reactive. What about you? So, yeah, that's a good point, because Tony's always like, hey, get your books in order. Proactively get your books in order before you get in trouble, and then you have to reactively do something, right? But TurboTax, what's your take on that for the DIYers? Like, does it make sense in some instances, but when they come to you after they do it, what's your take on that?
Yeah, TurboTax is great. So hopefully, if Intuit's listening, hopefully I get a sponsorship by them. JK. But the TurboTax is like, if you know what you're actually doing, it's actually pretty good. Like, to be honest, like it's like guided questions is pretty well. So number one, if you know what you're doing, it's a great tool. Two, if you have the time, great tool. It's just if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have time, then it's not a great tool. So the biggest thing I see messed up is like depreciation schedules. So anyone that's like has a rental property and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna, save some money, do it myself, which is totally fine. As long as you don't mess up the depreciation schedules, that's totally fine. But that's usually the number one missed item that we see. And then two is just the deductions may be missing. So sometimes, there's always PITI, right? In real life on a tax return, it's always interest, insurance, property taxes. Like, you can always scan those rows and know like directionally if the return is correct or not. So it's not a bad tool, don't get me wrong. It's just like, hey, one, do you have time? Two, do you value your time? Three, like, can you actually execute and do it right?
That's great. So okay, so say people don't want to go the LegalZoom or the TurboTax route, and what would be a dream client for you? Like, what are all the things that they should have buttoned up and put with a bow so that you can do your job effectively? Because like you said in our earlier podcast, right? Shit in, shit out, right? So in like 2 to 3 sentences, because we got to wrap this up real quickly for our New Year's resolutions, what is the takeaway that you want everyone to walk away from, to nail it, bring it home? Like, what's one thing to do differently to best utilize your professional, your tax and legal professional? And then Anita, we can do it for our real estate agent professional too. What is the one thing people can do better so that we can do our job better? Help me help you. That's the thing. Help me to help you. What would be that thing?
Yeah, I'd say, in the tax realm, be proactive in the current year. So proactive in tax planning, proactive in bookkeeping, like actually do something in the current year. The only way you save taxes is if you do something right now. It's once the 12/31 hits, it's Cinderella and the pumpkin, like you just boom, like nothing happens, like you're low-key just screwed. So just be proactive, know when to reach out for help. I'd say that's the biggest thing. Talk to a professional. It never hurts to have a conversation. And if it does, I don't know what you're doing.
What about you, Davis?
It's a little difficult on the legal end because it always just depends. But I guess just for a short summary, like educate yourself. There's a lot of information out there. You can ask people, maybe not on like not posting comments, but closer people that have more experience, like in person. You can ask them questions, right? If you don't have the budget, look online. If you're going to do it yourself, look online, do your due diligence. Otherwise, if you, like you said, you have the funds, you value your time, just talk to people about some trusted legal professionals and just hire one and let them guide you, right? Because they're there to help you understand things that you don't know, and also to save you time. So it's either, I think you should choose one or the other, where like you hire a professional and like just tell them the facts and the things that you're dealing with, or do it yourself, right? But don't like do a combination where you're like now questioning your legal professional on everything you find on like Reddit and Google, right? Because then you're just wasting time and money.
Anita, you have anything to add to that from the realtor realm of things?
I think like buyers, obviously you can have your like pre-approvals and all of those things, your proof of funds and everything ready. But I think the clients that take the most time, at least on the buyer side, are the ones that are still clearly exploring, right? It's like, I don't know if I want to be in California or Texas. I'm like, well, I can only help you with so much in California. You know, it's like, what do you want me to do? Like pinpoint everything. And I think that's like, that's probably a biggest sign of like, you're not a real buyer is what we say in industry, right? They're not real. If you are basically like in 10 different places at once, still kind of getting your thing off the ground, it's like, you're probably not there. Sellers are on a different basis, right? Because they already have the asset, they have the house, right? But typically, like if they don't have the buy-in, and like it's like wife comes and be like, I want to sell the house. And then they do all the circus, but they didn't bring in, you know, all of the people that need to be involved in that. Then you're just, you know, we're back to square one, you know? Right. So, yeah, especially for buyers, I think that's like, I see that a lot in investors too, because they can't decide where to spend their California money or out of state money. And then I'm like, well, are you going to pounce when you pounce, right? I think it's like those indecisions. And I think that's kind of, sometimes they turn into therapy sessions. I'm not going to lie, right? It's like, that's like the frustration, I think, for realtors, I think. What do you think, Tiff?
I think you hit the nail on the head with the buyer side. It's just like you get an idea of what you want. And also, if you need financing, get pre-approved. Just like know how much money you have to spend and what your plan is. Know thyself, right? Because I can't help you if at the end of the day you don't know what you want. I can't find you something little, like it's not going to click if you don't have a set goal. I will also add that like on the seller side of things, if you're representing the seller, to echo what Davis said, listen to your professional. A lot of times I work with sellers or landlords that want pricing that is just completely unrealistic and out of touch with where the market is. And they won't take your advice as the real estate professional who is running the comps, has no emotional tie to what that end number should be, and is basically telling you, hey, your product is not going to move if you price it at that point, because no one is going to, you're living in la la land. So my suggestion is like, hey, if you're going to hire a professional, listen to them. And if you're not in a mindset to want to take in advice, then do it yourself. Not screw yourself, but like sometimes they need to feel the pain a little bit to appreciate having someone help them. Because if they're not in that mindset yet, they're not going to appreciate the help. They're just going to think that you're killing their dreams when you're really just like bringing them back to the reality. Like, yes, I would love to live in a dreamland, but that's not how the world works, guys.
Oh, and yeah, so many times. It's like they come to, especially in like, they're like, I have so much money. Why can't I buy anything? Like they expect the same price as a rental for like a, you know, like that's like what you're going to be buying. Like, dude, no. I mean, I'm sorry. It's like, and it's like the longer they wait, the crappier houses they get, right? And I'm like, move now, you know?
This applies to all of us, I think, is like, you know, you get that client that kind of has some experience and they like kind of defer all their trust to you. Like those are the best clients because I think they're not going to question things that like they're not even aware of, that they're just hearing from their friends and family members, right? Like, and for me, like people that have been in litigation are the best clients because they know like, hey, I use LegalZoom and then I lost like 100K. So I'm going to take all the advice. I know this is important to do. And like you said, Tiffany, sometimes they just have to learn it the hard way. Right?
Yeah.
But I think that it goes to like stress the importance of like trust. If you're going to hire a professional, like you can be selective with who you choose, but once you choose them, I think you just have to trust that they know what they're doing and they're looking out for your best interest, and they're there to make your life easier. So like you should be taking their input and advice as like some solid information that you can just follow with. Because I've had situations where like, buyers, they're just like, oh, this, I want to look at this, I want to think of this, and they back out, and it's like you can kind of tell who's like serious and who's not, So
yeah, they get in their own way a lot all the time. They're their own worst enemy, and that's my pet peeve. It's just
I think like a lot of times, like for us, it's like the best kind of clients that I have are the people that I don't like. They don't see every dollar as, such a painful experience. Right? I feel like, you have to spend money to make money. You have to pay for those extra protections. You have to pay for the inspections up front. And you may not technically really see the immediate results, but it's like they're not hurt by all of that, which is really like the differential, between a seasoned investor and someone that is totally new. But you got to get those stabs in early, pretty much. I remember when I was like, oh, $500, that's a lot. I'm like, dude, I don't even blink anymore.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Everything of it, like, just be prepared to spend money. And like the worst clients are the ones that like almost feel like it's an affront or like some like that you've like betrayed their trust if you're like, oh, you have to pay for this. This is the thing that you have to pay for. And they're like, well, you never told me about X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, there's so many nuances to it. I'm just almost like, get burned. Like I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'll only take clients that have like exhausted their other options. Like I never want to be someone's first real estate agent anymore, ever. Like I don't want to be someone's first girlfriend. I don't want to be someone's first wife. I don't want to be anyone's first real estate agent. I want you to like,
wait, you don't want to be someone's first wife?
No, at 35, absolutely not anymore. If you didn't get married by the time you're 35, obviously something's like up with you. In New York anyway. I'm gonna say in New York.
I thought New York, you get married when you're like in your 40s.
You do get married. Yeah, you do. And then like people also, you know what? I'll retract that statement. I don't want to be someone's first girlfriend though. All right, that's a valid one. But
I think
like,
that's valid.
That's a valid one. You never want to be someone's first girlfriend, and you don't want to be someone's first real estate agent because the expectations are too high and they expect you to do the impossible, and it's not going to happen. So yeah, they live in a fairy tale land, and that's not the way the world works. So that's the big takeaway from there for me.
Yeah, the key is to just gain trust and just slowly gather your A-list clients that kind of trust you, because they're gonna have to pay the commission to you or some other agent anyway. So sometimes it's like, I always say like, you can, if you're gonna complain about my prices, you can hire another attorney. It's not like they're doing it for free. So you have the choice. So you just have to go with, I think, just whoever you trust or feel like is a good fit for you, and then hopefully as you work together, you build on that trust. And same with you guys, right? It's like if you have clients that have been buying houses or property through you for like 10-20 years, they're probably not even going to question anything, right?
Yeah, and I think that really distinguishes a like a real broker investor relationship is that it's like the ones that if you view your agent or broker as someone that is throwaway, you're not going to get good deals, right? It's like because they're gonna they're not invested into the relationship with you, right? And you see this more in commercial real estate. I mean, it's just like you build upon it, right? It's like the under market deals or whatever. Those are relationship built, right, between the broker and whatever, not the ones that are scraping the bottom barrel of the commission. you're not gonna get
call and like what they're looking for. So you're like, hey, I got a deal. It's off market.
Yeah.
And you gotta get this, and they're like, I give you consent to like put in an offer for X, and that's kind of, I think, the best case scenario for like broker and their client relationships.
Yeah, you trust that the other person has your best interests at heart, right? Like
It's a long-term relationship, right?
Yeah, like I said, going back to, you don't want to be someone's first girlfriend. Like when you're first dating, you don't even know what you want yet, and you're just wasting. You guys are. It's inevitable. You're gonna break up because nobody really knows what they want. It's like working with a buyer. Like, I don't know which neighborhood I want to be in. I don't even know if I want to buy in New York or California. Like, okay, cool.
I'm like, turn around. I'm not here for you for that.
Right, I'll lose my number.
I'll lose my number.
You're blocked.
All right, well, that wraps it up.
That wraps it up. Well, that was fun. Thanks, guys. This was a good informal vent session. But just to reiterate for those at home, if people want unsolicited, people want to work with someone they trust and they will take your advice. They've decided they are going to, they've bought into Davis, they've bought into Tony, and they want to work with you, and they're not going to be a pain in the ass. How will they reach you? Davis, you can go first because Tony has all the Instagram handle, all the social media.
I mean, you can reach out to my email, dyu@dylawcorp, or you can just call. You can just search DY Law APC on Google, and all the contact information will probably be there. And then set up a consultation with myself or one of my associates, and hopefully we can help you.
Tony, how about you?
Oh wow, you can call Davis. Wow, fancy.
Well, if I feel like you don't trust me and you're gonna, you're not the client I want, you'll be speaking with my associate. Just kidding.
Yeah, guys. Hey, just to make it clear to all our listeners, we're not begging for business. It's a pleasure to be in our presence. We don't need. It's like a relationship. I don't need to be in it. I just want to be in it, and it goes both ways. Don't take advantage of your professional, that your professional advisor, right? So Tony, go ahead, tax advisor, the CPA dude.
Yeah. So find us. If you trust us, go to the CPADude.com and fill out a form there to get started with us. And then Instagram, TikTok, the CPA Dude. So Facebook, I'll get there eventually, but not the best place to find me.
Anita, if they want to be if they're looking to buy in California, how will they reach you?
Oh yeah, Instagram, giverise_real estate, or you can ping me on any of the SARE ladies, those things, and find me. Yeah, on Facebook as well.
Yeah, and if you're looking to do something in New York, my Instagram is @TiffanySellsNewYork, or you can email me at tiffanylee@compass.com. All right, that wraps it up for this episode. Thanks so much, Davis and Tony, for sitting down with us and having this informal event session. I hope this is helpful for everyone listening to this quick and dirty episode. Until next time, see y'all. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
See you, gang.
Thank you for tuning in to the SARE Ladies podcast hosted by Anita Wong and Tiffany Lee. Special thanks to Subtle Asian Real Estate, LLC, our parent company.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review or follow SARE Ladies on Spotify and Instagram @Subtle Real Estate. You can also click on our show notes to subscribe to our newsletters to stay on top of our news and upcoming events. Until next time, Pod Squatters.